pick up this win. They'll have picked up another Intel Grand Slam point. They'll have one more point than the world's #1 Astralis. So the pressure is truly on them today. But I believe that Dallas may be on their side. You know what, Dallas? That was a little bit of a delay. Are you really on Team Liquid's side? Because I'm not so sure right now. Okay, good. I think maybe there are some fans here. The question is, though, and this is for all of you, no matter who you're supporting today, are you ready for the final? I think it's time to get this show on the road.
These walls, they have stood the test of time. Many are the memories they hold. Moments of a past, glimpses of former glory. But there's still room for more.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, my God. God, he absolutely destroyed them. Himself a note. There we go. Now it's all on that. AW. Oh, my God. There's this. We almost has another one through the smoke. There's so many players here. Oh, another night. That's 3 in the map. Oh, wow. More headshots. Oh, no. Yes, so that's right, the only thing going for him. One more headshot. They're going to find out. Oh!
16 teams came for the trophy. 6 survived the heat of the group stage. But only 2 could burn their way to the grand final. The wait is almost over. And tonight we crown the Corsair DreamHack Masters. Welcome on stage, Liquid and ENCE.
The USA chants have started out already here in Dallas, Texas, and almost rightfully so. ENCE is certainly going to have something to say about that in this best of 3. This one could go the distance. This one could be very volatile.
Let me say this one more time for everybody out there. These are right now the best 2 active CSGO teams in the world. Stop and drop everything that you think you know about Astralis. Who cares? Because these guys are here. They've been playing, they've been grinding, and these 2 teams are the best CSGO teams we have in the world right now who are willing to rock on up and go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, and we're just getting a taste of what that is, plus the addition of some newcomers coming out through the brackets, battling their way all the way trying to become the masters of the Corsair DreamHack Masters, but some of them, well, they just fell a little short. Guys, we need to stop all the nonsense. We need to stop all the playing around. We need to start talking about maps, and we need to start doing it right now.
Okay, so here's what we know. Some things we don't know, but some we do. Vertigo shouldn't be here, and Train shouldn't be here.
Yes.
I would be surprised, right?
The bans make sense.
Exactly. Train should be removed by Liquid. It's a very good map for ENCE. It's their natural veto. And then Vertigo, maybe, you know what, I would like to see. I'm going to say it. Okay, that's it. I'm saying it. I would like to see ENCE take a risk and remove another map and leave Vertigo in it and let Liquid decide. Do you want to play your grand final on Vertigo? Go ahead.
I think they would, because they've been playing it a lot, right?
Then why not?
And I think for ENCE, their map pool is still pretty strong without it. But look, we always love a bit of a curveball here. I'm not sure if we're going to get it in the bans. It's the picks which are the curious one, right? Because if I'm Liquid and I'm having to pick a map here and I want to pick Dust 2 because that has been a weakness for ENCE, right? And we have seen Dust 2 as a weakness for ENCE. But yesterday against FaZe, they've changed up their CT side, right? It's more difficult to read. You can't look at tendencies. If you kill a player long and it's the B guy, you make the wrong call mid-round, you get flustered, individuals are running over each other, holding nades out. We saw that a lot from FaZe. So that could be a thing that could factor in here if Liquid are a little bit scared about their new CT side.
I think Overpass could be a pick for Liquid, honestly.
There you go.
What do you know,
All right. Sometimes it works.
And
Pretty much just the
Mirage,
magic.
though, they haven't gone with Nuke.
Yes, so I think the point for ENCE is that the Nuke pick was probably a bit too obvious. If you're on the ENCE side, you know that Nuke is a possibility. Now Mirage, we, and myself included, have been sleeping on it. It's a map where ENCE have 100% win rate in the past 3 months.
Okay.
Obviously, they have played it a little bit less. But it's like a dark map that they actually are very good on. Obviously, Mirage was the map at the Major they played so many times.
Yeah, well, this is wild to see the fact that their bans is probably what their first wave of picks for each team would be, right? So it's kind of factored in as it should when that goes down that way. So yeah, both teams are actually very proficient on Mirage, though. I think there's more playmakers on the side of Liquid for Mirage, though. So if they're all hot, that's a very, very scary prospect. And probably something good for the overall series is there's no Nuke. Because if they started with Nuke, and it's only a best of 3, they don't have time to warm into it, and Stewie can be a relatively slow starter on Nuke, and he's an influential factor, I think, when you get to the grand finals.
Yeah, especially when you think about the firepower and everything that is Team Liquid. Stewie is going to be a talking point there alongside just about everybody, but Stewie for sure.
Yes, Stewie has been absolutely outstanding, and when it comes to the entry fragging, he's out of this world. He has 1.43 rating in entry frag. That's insane. And as you said, yes, on Nuke, he has shown difficulties. I think it is map-related.
Teething issues, though.
Exactly. He hasn't found his groove. But he has been so important in getting the opening frag. So if he can do that now, then obviously that's going to be a good thing about Liquid. And what is really scary is that they can play both Counter-Strike. Sometimes we talk about Broly Counter-Strike or we talk about tactical. Liquid can do it all.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit curious right now with the choices, right? Because it hasn't been the standard picks for the teams throughout the tournament. So it's kind of throwing a curveball at us that they want to change things up when we get to the grand final. Now, on a map like Mirage, you just have to identify some of the little bits and pieces that can work against Liquid because they do play a little bit unorthodox in terms of having a bunch of people can AWP. You know, Nitro has to do the lion's share when nobody else wants to do it, but we've seen Stewie picking it up more on T-sides of certain maps. It's been coming out. Obviously, Naf loves it. Twist can pick it up if they need. Alicia's the only one who's not doing it. So on a map like Mirage, where, look, if they really want to be battling for that mid control against Alu, this is where it comes down to them playing off mid. They don't play on mid as much without the AWP.
Well, they're going to have to approach it a little bit differently, given that Alu can hit some shots, and we know that Liquid has this tendency to sort of pick up the op all the way around the lineup.
Yeah, for sure. And I was thinking about Mirage, and I might be wrong here, but I think Liquid have put Stewie in the window position right now, which is way more central. It used to be Nitro here who could make all the decisions, so that could prove to be a hard challenge for Liquid now. Stewie in a position where he has to almost dictate the defense. The way you rotate from that window, you either go towards the B side or go back to CD base. That's going to shape up the whole defense. So Stewie is really going to be at play here. And as you said, Alu is, I mean, Mirage is one of Alu's best map, and he's been activated throughout the whole tournament. So if he can do it here, good for ENCE.
Well, yeah, good for ENCE, but easy for ENCE is the question. I'm actually going to put in a question mark at the end of it this time. I don't think it's normally there. What we are going to talk about is just that, ENCE, and what does actually capture that second, he's the second highest rated player in the tournament thus far, being Sergey. Now, this is a player that showed up in a big way here in Dallas, and he's going to have to show up in a big way today alongside of Alu against Team Liquid.
Yeah, these two, if you take Zaru out of the equation, the two highest rated players in the whole tournament, right? So they've been having a lot of impact in that regard, and I think the duo and the fact that there's the 10-year age disparity between these two individuals is quite a little unique task there. Moving on, we have Alexi B with the whole in-game leader of this outfit. And when it gets down to crunch moments, he's a player I can see he knows what needs to be fixed in a game, and he takes ownership of that. And I think that's a unique quality to have in such a young player.
Yes, very much so. I was talking with him at one of the past tournaments, and he seemed to read. He's down to earth. He understands his position. He's very mature, even though for his young age. He's doing a great job, and obviously he has Ali on his side. But I think when it comes to the fragging department, because that's what's going to be about, Alexby needs to step up for sure. And that man that we see here, X7, he's also in a bad position right now, and he was one of the defining factors for ENCE's crazy run at Katowice. Yeah. Everyone was pointing at him as a player that had overperformed compared to what he usually do. So I need X7 and Alexby to step up right now. If they don't, Liquid might just overrun them.
Well, Liquid, having secured that semi-final berth early on, now move on into the grand finals after beating Furia yesterday. This is North America's team. We can say Team America 95 times over, but it's these moments, it's these matchups that really sort of define that, because either they become second or they're going to end up in first. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, and look, you've seen some tweets from Naf recently, if you follow the social medias at all, like joking about this second place thing. But he, for me, is an individual who is a closer for this team. When the going gets tough, when they get into these situations where they can't find a way out, he will go for one of these absolutely audacious plays and get something done. Stewie on your screen right here. We did mention Nuke is a bit of a woe for him, but across the board on the other maps, he can contribute like anybody else. And I think that as a calming factor, as an individual of this team who's actually won a major, you know, he can bring a lot from such a young age. And the fact he still has that hunger is really good stuff.
Absolutely. And I think Stewie has a really important role also for the mentality of the team, right? Because we've said sometimes Liquid can be a team that lacks that fire, you know, that little extra push that makes you come back into a game or close a game. And definitely Stewie can do that.
Well, think about Liquid and just how many times they've been at the finish line, right? There's eventually that point where there is the negative impact upon the psychology of the team.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think these guys are in a pretty good place. I think they're in a pretty good state of mind about all of that considered.
I think with the two maps that we have for these teams going toe-to-toe, like I was coming into this with a 50-50 mindset. Now, once I've seen the maps, I've actually leaning quite heavily towards Liquid in my mind. And I think the biggest factor, the biggest thing that might actually see them lose would be the pressure getting to them yet again. Now, this is another one. It's not that this one's being served up to them on a silver platter by any means. I've just touted this being the best two Counter-Strike teams in the world right now. But this is another situation where they're poised to take a victory. And if it goes down again, how long can we keep saying this happen? That's the question, which I don't think we'll ever get an answer to.
Which is a little off-putting if you are a Liquid fan, but I'm going to put you somewhere that you need to be. A head-to-head comparison brought to you by X-Men Dark Phoenix in theaters next week. We do have a Legion Sergey squared up here in our head-to-head comparison. You can take a look at the numbers, looking just about on par with each other, but what is the difference maker with these two?
Listen, if you want to talk about firepower, these two men, they're going to light up the server. That is crazy what they've been doing. Obviously, we have seen Elige, his impact against Furia, his ability with the rifle, and then Sergey. I've been waiting for Sergey to show up and kind of showcase his monstrous ability, and he's been doing so in that tournament. That is a defining factor for ENCE. Look at this young guy, poised, he's focused, like dead cold-blooded. He's so impressive.
I definitely get that mannerism every time. Right. I get that look in his eye right now that he doesn't really care about what we have to say, what you have to say, Twitch chat. I personally care about what you have to say. Let's go ahead and get your votes out there. Hashtag LIQ or hashtag ENCE for ENCE. That's where you need to get your votes in so we can review that live on air and tell you just how right or wrong you might be today, Twitch chat. Continuing on with that entire mentality, though, will be where I kind of get a perspective from you guys. We've been building up this narrative. We've been building up the storyline. We've been building up the grand final overall. But now I need to know where you stand. We'll start with you, Maniac. Give me a prediction about this grand final.
I have to side on Liquid side here. And I think, obviously, ENCE are doing really great. And on the path that they are on as an evolution as a team, they're doing absolutely great. They're not missing any steps. I think they're really taking it step by step. But Liquid are just too good. Individually speaking, everyone is showing up right now. The map pool, as Chad said, gives them an edge in that regard here. And I cannot see how ENCE would beat Liquid in a best of three. Not that Liquid with the players right now.
Yeah, I think this right now is extremely defining for both teams. If ENCE are able to grab this, it's going to define where the future for Liquid is, because like how many different teams they have to beat or get to in grand finals and just keep losing to, right? Obviously, ENCE are a fantastic unit. There's no doubt about that. But coming into this, I feel that this is Liquid, home soil. This is their time. This is their chance to really grab the momentum that they got from Sydney and run with it correctly. And they know how to win. They have players on this team who have been winners. Naf's won big tournaments. Stewie's won big tournaments, right? the curse is more living now with Nitro and with Elige, but the fact that they've been able to get a bigger victory on the board, I think they can do it again right here. I think they can do it in front of the home crowd.
You know, Chad, I think that you are onto something, and I think that if there is a part of me that wanted to pick ENCE, I think I'd have to tell him to just keep it down, because keep it to yourself. It's got to be a Team Liquid grand final here. It's got to be one where they sort of step into this and put their feet into the stirrups and ride off into the sunset with this this notch into the Grand Slam trophy here. This is their time to shine.
Yeah.
And their final boss is going to be ENCE. It's not going to be easy. I'm not even thinking that it's going to be 2-mapper. This could definitely go to all 3, but guys, it's got to be Team Liquid at this point.
It has to. I mean, if you want to argue that ENCE have a shot here, I believe that you have to deviate a little bit from reality and say that Alexibi or X7 are going to play much better than they have throughout the tournament. If you just take them as a squad right now, yes, Alu and Sergey are playing extremely well, but as of now, it doesn't seem to be enough for me to take on Liquid.
Okay, well, it's enough for us to take you on, Twitch chat. Let's see what your votes yielded. These are the results, and they played out where it's easy for ENCE, I guess. I don't know. Is there any rationale?
It's still pretty even, though. I think there is, though, right? Because, like, the 3 reasons why I did before is painting this as a 50-50, right? And I still think it is. I think that we're siding for Liquid almost from a gut feeling, right? Because it's difficult to actually split these 2 teams apart and look at the differentiating factors. I just think Liquid have more firepower across the board here.
Well, we do have to get into the game. Enough talking about firepower, enough talking about putting your money where your mouth is, putting your guns up. Now it's time to put Mirage up. And that's where we're going to be headed here with our commentators. We do have Henry G and Sadakist, and they're ready to get their yeehaws on as we jump into this first map of the series.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, it's a tough one to call. It is. And I agree. It is kind of a gut feeling. If you look at the skill, if you look on paper, you want to say Liquid. We know they've had histories of trouble in the past on finals specifically. They've memed about it themselves lately. And we know that ENCE at the major beat them in a best-of-3, a quarterfinal, on the way to their run to meet Astralis in what was a historic run from them, really. The point being, though, Liquid had their eyes on only Astralis in that event. They weren't ready for ENCE to show up and be on the radar. Now, I think they're a little more prepared. Sure, they met again at Blast. There's a bit of a history between the 2. I think Liquid are a little bit more diverse now as a team.
I definitely have Liquid as the favorites going into this one, but Mirage is a question mark for me. I feel like that's where ENCE will be able to take the first map. Overpass is definitely going towards Liquid, in my opinion. So ENCE need to perform here. They can't come into this one cold. Liquid have looked so good. Remember, Stewie 2K is going to be main AWP on Mirage as well, so that's going to be a factor. He's been playing really, really well.
I tend to agree with what you're saying about Overpass as well. So if Mirage goes ENCE's way, Inferno is going to be a heck of a decider between these 2.